10 toughest actors from 70s sci-fi movies. They didn't just battle aliens on screen, they were genuine warriors in real life. The kind of men who could survive deadly accidents and keep filming. While modern stars rely on CGI and stunt doubles, these 70s legends brought authentic grit to space because they'd already lived it. What makes number 4 particularly shocking will leave you speechless. 10. Richard Roundtree. Before Richard Roundtree became the king of blaxploitation as Shaft, he was already a legitimate tough guy who'd earned his stripes on the mean streets of Harlem. Unlike many actors who simply played heroes, Roundtree had survived real street fights and developed genuine combat skills long before stepping in front of a camera. What separated Roundtree from other action stars was his absolute refusal to use stunt doubles, even for the most dangerous sequences. During the filming of Earthquake, he insisted on performing his own stunts in collapsing building scenes that terrified even professional stuntmen. Director Mark Robson later said, "Richard had this calm confidence in dangerous situations that you can't fake. He'd been in real fights and real danger." Roundtree's background as a former male model might seem contradictory to his tough guy image, but those who knew him understood that his modeling career had actually toughened him. Working in an industry that often looked down on black men, Roundtree had to fight for respect, both literally and figuratively, developing the authentic hardness that made his screen presence so compelling. 9. Donald Sutherland. Donald Sutherland's eerie portrayal of the pod person in Invasion of the Body Snatchers wasn't just brilliant acting, it was the performance of a man who understood survival in genuinely hostile environments. Before becoming one of cinema's most versatile actors, Sutherland had served in the Canadian military, developing the mental toughness that would serve him throughout his career. What made Sutherland particularly remarkable was his willingness to endure extreme physical conditions that sent other actors running for their trailers. During filming in remote locations, he routinely worked in freezing temperatures and harsh weather that hospitalized crew members. Director Philip Kaufman once observed, "Donald has this almost supernatural ability to endure discomfort. I've seen him work 16-hour days in conditions that would break most men." Sutherland's commitment to authenticity extended to never using stunt doubles, even for physically demanding scenes. His tall, lean frame disguised genuine physical strength, developed through years of outdoor work before his acting career. Co-stars frequently commented on his surprising resilience and his ability to maintain focus under the most challenging circumstances, traits that made his sinister characters particularly convincing. 8. Yaphet Kotto Long. Before Yaphet Kotto faced the xenomorph in Alien, he was already a battle-tested veteran who'd survived real combat as a United States Marine. His military service wasn't just a brief stint. Kotto served with distinction and developed the kind of situational awareness and physical toughness that would later make his portrayal of Chief Parker so convincingly gritty. Growing up in the rough neighborhoods of the Bronx, Kotto learned early that survival meant being tougher than the next guy. Unlike many actors who claimed street credibility, Kotto had genuinely lived it, developing the powerful build and intimidating presence through necessity rather than gym workouts. His hands, which director Ridley Scott noticed immediately, bore the calluses and scars of real manual labor. What made Kotto particularly fearsome on set was his complete lack of theatrical bravado. Sigourney Weaver once said, "Yaphet never had to prove how tough he was. You could just sense this quiet danger about him." His physical strength was legendary among cast and crew, but it was his mental toughness, forged through military service and urban survival, that made him authentically intimidating both on-screen and off. 7. James Caan. James Caan brought legitimate athletic credentials to his role in Rollerball that most action stars could only dream of. Before becoming an actor, Caan was a serious college football player at Michigan State and Hofstra University, developing the kind of bone-crushing physicality that made his violent scenes disturbingly realistic. But Caan's toughness extended far beyond football. He was an accomplished martial artist and had genuine rodeo experience, skills that gave him an understanding of controlled violence and physical danger that translated perfectly to his intense screen performances. During the brutal rollerball sequences, Caan insisted on performing his own stunts, taking hits that left him bruised and battered, but refusing to complain. What separated Caan from other tough guy actors was his explosive temper and willingness to settle disputes physically. Director Norman Jewison recalled, "Jimmy had this volcanic intensity that could erupt without warning. He wasn't playing at being dangerous, he actually was dangerous." His co-stars learned to give him space during heated scenes, knowing that Caan's method acting sometimes crossed the line into genuine aggression. This authentic edge made his portrayal of violence so convincing that audiences believed they were watching real brutality rather than choreographed action. 6. Malcolm McDowell. Malcolm McDowell's chilling performance in A Clockwork Orange required more than just acting ability. It demanded the kind of physical and mental toughness that could withstand genuine torture. During the infamous Ludovico technique scenes, McDowell actually endured having his eyes held open by metal clamps for hours, resulting in temporary corneal damage that nearly cost him his sight. What most audiences don't realize is that McDowell's fearless approach to dangerous scenes came from his extensive stage combat training in British theater. Unlike Hollywood actors who learned to fight for cameras, McDowell had mastered real theatrical combat, understanding how to take and deliver blows safely but convincingly. This background made him uniquely qualified for the film's brutal violence. Perhaps most telling about McDowell's authentic toughness was his response to serious injuries during filming. When a broken rib punctured his lung during a particularly violent scene, McDowell insisted on finishing the day's shooting before seeking medical attention. Director Stanley Kubrick, known for his demanding perfectionism, later said, "Malcolm possessed a combination of physical courage and artistic dedication that I've rarely encountered. He would endure genuine pain for the sake of authenticity." This commitment to realism, regardless of personal cost, made his disturbing performance unforgettably authentic. 5. Charlton Heston. By the 1970s, Charlton Heston had already proven his toughness through World War II service, but his sci-fi trilogy of Planet of the Apes, The Omega Man, and Soylent Green demonstrated that age had only hardened his resolve. At an age when most leading men relied heavily on stunt doubles, Heston continued performing his own dangerous sequences with a determination that bordered on reckless. For The Omega Man, Heston insisted on driving the high-speed chase sequences himself through the empty streets of Los Angeles, taking risks that terrified insurance companies. During one scene, he crashed through real glass barriers, sustaining cuts that required stitches but refusing to stop filming. Director Boris Sagal remarked, "Chuck had this old-school mentality that stars should do their own stunts. He'd rather get hurt than let a double take his place." What made Heston's 70s performances particularly impressive was his refusal to acknowledge physical limitations. During the grueling makeup sessions for Planet of the Apes, which could take up to 6 hours in sweltering heat, Heston never complained or requested breaks. His co-stars marveled at his endurance, with Kim Hunter noting, "Charlton approached every physical challenge like a military operation. Failure simply wasn't an option in his vocabulary." This unwavering determination made his portrayal of humanity's last survivors utterly convincing. 4. Max von Sydow. Here's what studio executives desperately tried to hide about Max von Sydow. Before he became one of cinema's most distinguished actors, he was a legitimate professional boxer who could have killed a man with his bare hands. Born in Sweden during the rise of Nazi Germany, von Sydow's early life was shaped by violence and survival in ways that Hollywood couldn't fabricate. What made von Sydow's background so shocking was the contrast between his intellectual, almost priestly screen presence and his brutal fighting skills. Standing 6 feet 4 inches with the reach and power of a heavyweight, von Sydow had competed professionally in the ring, developing the kind of devastating punch that directors feared might accidentally seriously injure co-stars during fight scenes. During the filming of Flash Gordon, von Sydow insisted on performing his own combat sequences despite being in his 50s. When a younger stuntman challenged him to prove his fighting credentials, witnesses described von Sydow's demonstration as terrifyingly efficient. Director Mike Hodges later revealed, "Max moved like a trained killer. There was nothing theatrical about it. He could have genuinely hurt someone without breaking a sweat." This combination of refined intellect and lethal physical capability made von Sydow perhaps the most deceptively dangerous man in 70s cinema, a secret that studios worked overtime to keep from the public. 3. Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford's legendary toughness wasn't developed in acting classes. It was forged through years of working as a professional carpenter, building the calloused hands and physical strength that made his portrayal of Han Solo so authentically rugged. Unlike pretty boy actors who relied on makeup to look weathered, Ford's hands told the story of real manual labor and honest work. What truly separated Ford from other action stars was his survival of a near-fatal plane crash in 1999, though his pattern of facing death and continuing to work was established decades earlier. During the filming of Star Wars, Ford insisted on performing his own stunts despite studio objections, taking falls and impacts that left him bruised but never complaining. Director George Lucas once said, "Harrison approached every dangerous scene like it was just another day at the construction site." Ford's carpenter background gave him an understanding of practical problem-solving under pressure that translated perfectly to his action roles. When equipment failed or stunts went wrong, Ford's response was always to figure out how to make it work rather than call for help. This blue-collar work ethic, combined with genuine physical toughness developed through years of construction work, made his transformation from carpenter to galactic hero utterly believable. Co-star Carrie Fisher noted, "Harrison never seemed like he was playing a tough guy. He just was one." 2. Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood brought more than just his iconic squint to 70s action cinema. He brought the hardened experience of a Korean War veteran who had faced real bullets long before facing movie cameras. His military service during one of America's most brutal conflicts gave him an understanding of violence and survival that couldn't be taught in acting schools. What made Eastwood particularly formidable was his background as a swimming instructor and lifeguard, work that had developed both his physical strength and his ability to remain calm in life-threatening situations. During the filming of The Gauntlet, Eastwood performed his own stunts in sequences involving real explosions and gunfire, displaying the kind of cool under pressure that only comes from genuine experience with danger. Eastwood's refusal to use stunt doubles became legendary in Hollywood. Even well into his 40s, he insisted on performing his own fight scenes, drawing on techniques he'd learned during his military service. Director Don Siegel observed, "Clint fights like someone who's been in real combat. There's no wasted motion, no theatrical posturing, just efficient violence." This authentic approach to screen combat, combined with his towering physical presence and genuine military experience, made Eastwood's tough guy persona impossible to fake. Unlike many actors who played it being dangerous, Eastwood simply was dangerous, a fact that co-stars and directors quickly learned to respect. 1. Sean Connery. Sean Connery's portrayal of the intimidating Zed and Zardoz revealed what many didn't know about the man behind James Bond. He was perhaps the most legitimately dangerous actor of his generation. Before becoming cinema's most famous secret agent, Connery had worked as a coffin polisher, bodybuilder, and Royal Navy veteran, developing the kind of authentic toughness that made even hardened crew members nervous. What studio executives worked desperately to hide was Connery's reputation for settling disputes with his fists. Unlike the suave Bond character, the real Connery had been involved in numerous off-screen altercations, including legendary bar fights, where witnesses described his fighting technique as professionally brutal. His hands, which makeup artists struggled to make look refined for Bond films, bore the scars and calluses of genuine manual labor and combat. Perhaps most telling about Connery's authentic toughness was how he intimidated co-stars who were themselves known for being difficult. During the filming of Zardoz, Connery's mere presence was enough to maintain discipline on a set known for chaos. Director John Boorman later revealed, "Sean didn't need to raise his voice to command respect. Everyone could sense that this was a man who could back up any threat he made." This combination of physical power, military training, and street fighting experience made Connery not just cinema's greatest action hero, but its most genuinely dangerous leading man. And that wraps up our journey through the legitimately toughest actors from 70s sci-fi cinema. Which of these tough guys impressed you most? Let me know in the comments below.